What's going on, guys? It's Dan, aka Captain Redbeard here, and coming from you from the magical Unicorn Ranch. But anyways, guys, we are here today because this is like one of the biggest, hottest things being discussed right now, and just YouTube, gaming community, Twitter, Twitch, all that stuff. And it's a genuine concern, and it's me kind of, I guess you could say, giving my input on it, opinion, whatever you want to call it. But basically, it is the issue of Battlefield 5. So with Battlefield 5, as you guys know, if you don't know, I'm filling you guys kind of in. Long story short, it's a fictional version of World War II coming from Battlefield 1 and the World War II with Battlefield 5. So they alternated history by adding women, by adding fully customizable characters in the sense of adding like mechanical arms, legs, whatever, because some of the characters in the trailers are amputees, and they like have like a prosthetic, and they're still able to shoot their gun and do all kinds of crazy cool flips and tricks and doodaddies out of 30-foot windows and stuff like that. And the big issue that a lot of the community is going on ranting and raving about is they're changing history. This isn't how it really was. When this many women weren't on the front lines, because historically speaking, which if you don't know, Google it, YouTube it, get a history book, whatever. There were women that fought in World War II. There were more women involved in other countries, like Russia. They had their own squads and stuff like that of snipers and things of that nature. I mean, it's out there. You can look it up. It exists. Those were real elements of World War II with women involved. From the U.S. front perspective, more women were involved in making the airplanes, making the packs that were going with the soldiers, and nurses, and riveters building their planes and stuff like that. I mean, that was more of the involvement of women. So people are not a big fan of how many women are perceived to be on the front line in Battlefield 5. Me, personally, it's a video game. I don't care. Personally, I was still planning on playing it regardless, whether there were women in it, whether there wasn't, whether you could have a freaking Black Ops 3 style arm, and it pulls out a Tommy gun, changes into a Tommy gun, and blast everybody around, down. I don't personally care. It's a video game, in my opinion. If I want historical accuracy, I'll go watch a YouTube documentary or Netflix documentary on World War II or read a history book. That's my perspective on it. And that's my opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. If you want to play a game that's 100% historically accurate, that's good. Cool. I respect that. 100%. 100% respect that. Now, people are blaming, there's a lot of YouTubers blaming the failure rating or whatever on people aren't buying it because there's women. We'll just say that without getting political, because there's certain terms and phrases and words being thrown around about it I don't agree with, because politically speaking, I don't think that only one side feels a certain way about women being in the game. I don't think that you're only this supporter if you feel this way about women being in this game, and you're a bigot, and you're this and you're that. And I don't think that you're an SJW or whatever they're calling it. I don't keep up with all this drama usually. I don't feel like you are that if you're cool with there being women in the game. I just think that it's a preference. You know what I'm saying? I think it's ultimately a preference of that user, that individual. However, what I will say, my opinion on what's attributing to the 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 failure or weak pre-order numbers is a lot of different things. Um, for one, for years and years and years and years and years, people on YouTube have been preaching. Do not pre-order. Vote with your wallet. Don't pre-order. Guys, I don't believe in pre-order incentives. Don't pre-order. Don't pre-order. Don't pre-order. Don't pre-order. Don't pre-order. Buy it. Wait for the review. Wait for the review. And I think that EA gave everybody a good reason to start putting that into practice by excuse me, by how they handled the whole the reaction of the historical inaccuracy of women in their game. And what I mean by that is how their CEO handled people's response to the women. Well, if you don't like it, just don't buy it. You you can't look at people and tell them that, because then they're going to look at you and go, wow, you're a real prick. Okay, cool. I won't buy it. I'll buy Black Ops 4, or I'll buy Red Dead Redemption 2, which is another factor, I think, is historically speaking with Battlefield. I worked at GameStop for almost 4 years, 3.5 years. Started in 2013, right before the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One launched. And I left in 2000 and right at the end of 2016, beginning of 2017. So end of 2012, beginning of 2013, something like that. It was right at like a 3.5 year mark that I was there. And that was the thing that was always interesting about Battlefield versus COD when I worked there. With Call of Duty pre-orders, every day, new COD's getting announced. I'm taking pre-orders. Battlefield was very slow on pre-orders. Our pre-order goals in our store, it was categorized as a large store. So you've got like city stores, they're like XLs. Then you've got mall stores, they're XSs, which are extra small. Then you've got small, and you got medium, and you got large, which that determines how large the store is, how much product is moved through it, and it also determines your goals as a store to contribute to the company. Pre-order goals, pre-order numbers, stuff like that. And I remember with Call of Duty games, Ghost being an example, because that's Battlefield 4 and Ghost were like, those were like the two games that rivaled really big my first year. Obviously, they always rival, but Battlefield 4 was coming off of Battlefield 3 hype, which Battlefield 3 right before, for some reason, blew up. Might have been Jack Frags. I don't know. I really don't know. But what I'm getting at, though, is I remember pre-order goals for Ghost, Black Ops 3 being in the hundreds. You know, that was the goal. Hundreds. I'm talking like 300 pre-orders for standard versions, and then like special editions being like 100, 150 goal, and then like limited edition, the like the zombie fridge one for Black Ops, and then like the night vision goggles or whatever it was for Ghost. I remember that one being, you know, those being lower goals, because obviously your store wasn't going to get as many of those because they're limited edition. Now with Battlefield, I remember goals, like for example, I remember the goal for Battlefield 4, because it just really shocked me. It was a real big shell shock to realize like the different of expectation. It was only 85 in my store, and again, my store was considered a large store. And I remember thinking, well, that's really weird, because Ghost is like 300. You know, like that was the pre-order goal for the store, not on an individual level, the whole store. So what I'm getting at is pre-order comparisons against the two have always been, the goal has always been a little lower on Battlefield, because there's just a higher player base statistically on Call of Duty over the last, you know, X amount of years, because it was always more popular on console. You know, Battlefield was always more of a PC game, so a lot of their pre-orders come from like Origin and, you know, whatever their launchers are, you know, the Origin launcher and things like that. So I think that's something that people aren't accounting for. And then also the game does release between Black Ops 4, again, Black Ops is a Treyarch title, which is a huge franchise to begin with. And then you've got um, Red Dead Redemption 2, which has been in the making since the end of Red Dead 1, which came out, and I don't even remember. It came out like in 09 or 10 or something like that. It came out, it's been a while. It's been in the making for at least 7 years, something like that. So the point I'm getting at is you have two really anticipated games, and then you've got one that you have a very set, dedicated audience where that game's coming in between the two, like heavily anticipated, where I guess you could call their community. I hate saying casual. I hate that word with gaming, but you have people that barely game. They know what Red Dead is. They know what Call of Duty is. So they go to those. They don't go to Battlefield because Battlefield's directed towards a very specific audience. So I think that that's definitely an attributing factor. And I think probably more than the media is blowing up the whole inaccuracy of history thing and YouTube comments and stuff, I think one of the biggest attributing factors as well is the atrocity that was Battlefront 2 with how EA handled the microtransaction situation. They just that really put a very bad distaste in a lot of consumers' mouths with how they handled that with the microtransactions. And you look at Infinite Warfare sales. I mean, that game still surprisingly sold really well. But even Infinite Warfare, though, whenever they implemented microtransactions to, unlock variants and things like that, that would help you get a better gun and stuff like that, that really decreased the player base in that game, because they waited till that game launched to implement that kind of stuff. So, and the thing about Battlefront 2 is they said, we're temporarily turning these off. So they pretty much low key said, well, we'll just turn it back on whenever we want. And I feel like it's the same concern. There's a lot of the same concern there with Battlefield 5. I feel like people know how shady EA is and how much pressure they put on their sister companies or their companies that they own or are partnered with to develop for them. They put a lot of pressure on them, and if they don't, rise to that set number or goal, they just cut you. They just cut you. I mean, Visceral Games is a great example of that. So, and then what really just, set it off was with how the CEO handled the whole like women in games thing, like how they handled that whole response from the community of people saying, well, your game is being historically inaccurate, which it is. Let's just be honest, it is. I don't have a problem with it because it's a video game. Developers, it's totally in their right, and then their right as a creator. Because they're creating content. It is their right to manipulate and change things around if that's what they want to do. It's their world, they're creating it. So I think as individuals, we forget that sometimes. But with their response, instead of being very welcoming to say, hey, this is a new take on it. We are trying something new. We would really love it if you guys would, just give it a chance. It's going to be a great game, has a lot of potential. You're going to have customization. You're going to be able to make your character look how you want. Women can play as women if they want, or men can play as men if they want. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're changing about it, but it's still at its core root representing and honoring people that fought, or whatever. There was a better answer than, well, I mean, if you just don't like it, you don't have to buy it. I mean, you don't have to be involved with our community if you don't want to. I mean, we don't really care. I mean, that's basically what they were saying in their response. So, it kind of throws me back to remembering whenever the Xbox One was getting ready to launch, before Phil Spencer took over it as CEO, their original CEO. I don't even remember his name because he was that big of a moron. He's introducing this Xbox One. He's given the breakdown and like all of its crappy initial features. Because let's just be honest, the Xbox One, when it first launched, was a horrible console. It was literally designed for home entertainment. It had no designed elements around gaming. It was going to be a freaking cable box that you could play games on. Like that was like their concept or whatever. And then you had to constantly be connected to the internet to you had to be connected to the internet to do any kind of gaming, that because they wanted to monitor, because they were trying to put what is that, DRM, basically, where it's essentially uh the developers of the game monitor to make sure you own the game. And if you were going to share it with your friend, they had to pay like $5 to get like a code, to unlock the game or whatever. And if you traded your game in the GameStop, they had to like turn around and sell you like a DRM unlock code, kind of like EA used to do with like their games on console. And it's just a horrible thing. It's a good concept, horrible in reality. And that's the and how their CEO responded whenever, because there was a lot of soldiers and military men and women that asked, "Hey, what about us? We're deployed, we're at our base, we don't have internet, or it's not good enough to maintain a stable connection, because we're over here, in this base, hunkered down, in the middle of the desert or whatever." I'm just throwing a scenario out, but they were asking, what about us? And his response was, well, there's already a console for you. It's called the Xbox 360. And I mean, people that, I think the intent there was to be like, well, you can take your 360 with you, but the one's going to be, it's designed for being a home console. But how you come across when you say something like that is you're very insulting. You're degrading the value of that portion of your consumer base, and you're essentially saying, yeah, I don't value anything that you've done for me, for my country, even though the reason I'm able to stand up here and sell this is because you're over there defending my country. Different topic for a different day. But it's the same thing with Battlefield 5 with, hey, I know you're my player base. I know this is your opinion. I know this is your concern and your issues. And instead of addressing it professionally, just don't buy it if you don't like it. So, I think that those are the biggest contributing factors as to why the pre-order rates are down. But also, again, years and years and years, people have been preaching, don't pre-order, don't pre-order, don't pre-order. And I think people in the community of gaming have been looking for a reason to not pre-order a game, right? Because let's just be real. I mean, we all pre-order. I pre-ordered Black Ops 4. I pre-ordered on my PlayStation so I could get access to their private beta, which, if you want my opinion, I don't think that that's right. But hey, that's what the company's set rules are to be able to access it. That's what I did. I pre-ordered it. Now, how do I feel about pre-orders? I don't like them. I don't really think that you should have to pre-order a game to get locked into a specific content or access to a beta or anything like that. But that's just the reality. But I also feel like, if you want to combat that, you got to keep doing what all these guys on YouTube, these bigger names, they say, and that is vote with your wallet. Don't complain about it in comment sections and things like that, and on Steam and stuff. Just don't pre-order. Just don't do it. And I think that with I keep saying Black Ops, I'm sorry, guys. With Battlefield 5, they just finally gave the community a reason not to do it. So that's my thoughts. That's my opinions. I'm curious to see what everybody else thinks. This is like an open forum kind of format with the discussion. It's all non-scripted. It's just going off of information that I've gained from watching other YouTubers and stuff. So, I mean, if anything was inaccurate or inconsistent, correct me. That's fine. I don't take any offense to that. I like being educated and being informed. And if anybody has an opinion or a point that's coming from a different perspective that's maybe in disagreement with something I said, I'm very willing to take that into consideration. I really think that it's a mixture of all of these things that's really negatively impacting the pre-order numbers. But at the same time, I don't think that it could have happened to a better company. I mean, that's just my opinion. It's EA. They're probably the most evil publisher in the history of making games. I mean, that's why they are voted the worst company to work for, like every single year, like in the world. So, just my opinion though on all of that stuff. I'm curious what you guys think. I like these kind of discussions. This is the kind of stuff we do in our live streams, by the way. While we're gaming and playing games, we discuss our opinions on different things within the game or the community or concepts or ideas. And if you guys want to be a part of something like that, you guys can join my community. It's twitch.tv/Captain Redbeard. You guys can join my Discord. It's going to be down in the comments or the description below. You guys can follow my Facebook, my Instagram, and specifically in the Discord and stream, we try to have these kind of like informed, educated discussions, and just nothing wrong with friendly debate or just, you know, passing opinions back and forth. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like. And if you haven't subbed to the channel yet, drop a subscription. I try to post content at least once a week or every other week. With my work schedule being full-time and streaming full-time at night, it can be very tiring and exhausting sometimes. I'm sure you guys see a little bit of rings around the eyes there from exhaustion, but we're staying on it, grinding. But thank you guys, and we'll see you guys next time.